Well, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
Well, here's the thing. When you've got nothing of real value to say, you just keep talking, non-stop, endlessly. A never-ending stream of empty words. The voters don't stand with the out-of-touch women on The View. They're completely disconnected from mainstream America. Honestly, they should consider getting their information from actual media sources. For years, Whoopi Goldberg ruled The View like a queen on her throne, shutting down guests, steamrolling over opposing opinions, and treating her takes as if they were indisputable facts. But then, in one jaw-dropping moment, her iron grip on daytime TV shattered right in front of us. And the person responsible? Karoline Leavitt. No one saw it coming. The episode started like any other, smug Whoopi, as self-assured as ever, leaned back, fully prepared to steer yet another conversation in her direction. Then came the topic of wokeness, a term The View practically worships, a concept they defend as if their entire existence depends on it. Because, let's be honest, it kind of does. Feeling untouchable, Whoopi struck first. Her signature smirk appeared as she locked eyes with Karoline and delivered what she thought was a knockout blow. Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job. And just like that, bam, the energy in the room shifted. The audience tensed.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good.
Even Joy Behar, who built her entire career on ridiculing conservatives, squirmed uncomfortably in her seat. What Whoopi said next was exactly what you'd expect, predictable and downright irritating. After all these years as a host, you'd think she'd come up with something fresh, maybe add a little creativity to her banter. But nope. Here we are, stuck in the same old loop. Let's see what she's got for us this time. The atmosphere was electric. Everyone braced themselves for what came next. And let's just say, Whoopi wasn't ready for the response she was about to get. This wasn't just a minor disagreement or a playful back and forth. This was Whoopi Goldberg taking a direct shot at Karoline Leavitt's entire career, her intelligence, her work ethic, dismissing everything she had built as nothing more than a byproduct of the very ideology she opposed. It was condescending. It was dismissive. It was designed to belittle her completely. And yet...
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Yet, despite the obvious insult, the audience clapped like they were on autopilot. Some even chuckled. But beneath it all, there was a tension. A subtle unease that suggested they knew Whoopi had crossed a line, but weren't sure if they were allowed to acknowledge it. Karoline, however, didn't flinch. She didn't stumble. She didn't scramble for a defensive comeback. No, she did something far more powerful. She smiled, not a cocky, overconfident smile, but a slow, knowing one. The kind that said, "Oh, you just made a big mistake." It was the smile of someone who knew they had the facts, the evidence, and the composure to turn the entire situation upside down. And that's exactly what she did. This was something the audience had never seen before. By the way, if you're loving this epic showdown, make sure to like and subscribe. because we're about to go even deeper into this unforgettable moment. Karoline came armed with hard facts, cold, undeniable numbers that couldn't be brushed off with a sarcastic remark or an eye roll. She pulled out government spending reports exposing exactly how taxpayer dollars were being funneled into absurd woke programs, gender studies in Guatemala, Sesame Street adaptations designed to spread American social activism worldwide, and countless other eyebrow-raising initiatives that raised far more questions than answers. With surgical precision, she connected the dots, revealing how wokeness had transformed from a social movement into a political weapon, one used to silence, control, and punish anyone who dared to challenge it. And Whoopi? She wasn't laughing anymore. This was the most divisive and outrageous rhetoric that any president, certainly in my lifetime, had ever spewed. He essentially waged war on half the country, labeling them a threat to democracy, simply because they believed in putting America first. Since when is it radical to want a secure border, a strong military, and an economy that prioritizes American workers over global interests? She was articulate. She was sharp. And the fact that the hosts of The View chose to mock her rather than support another woman, that spoke volumes about their true agenda. Let's see how this plays out, because Karoline was far from done. She called out the cultural Marxism creeping into every institution in America: public schools, higher education, Hollywood, big tech, and, of course, the corrupt mainstream media she had fought against while serving in President Trump's White House. They were indoctrinating an entire generation of Americans to hate their own country, to hate each other based on race, gender, and whatever other divisive narrative they could push. Whoopi, the woman who had built her career on dominating conversations and steamrolling conservative guests, was suddenly on the defensive. She shifted in her chair, her signature smirk gone. Her hands fidgeted, as if grasping for something, anything, to regain control. She was used to guests fumbling, struggling to keep up with her rapid-fire interruptions. But not this time. Karoline wasn't letting her off the hook. And for the first time in ages, it was obvious to everyone. Whoopi Goldberg had backed herself into a corner. She opened her mouth, then shut it, opened it again. Nothing. The words just wouldn't come. The audience, usually quick to back her up with forced applause, sat frozen in an awkward silence. Even The View's most loyal fans didn't know how to react. The energy had shifted, and for once, no one knew whether they should clap, laugh, or just wait for Whoopi to say something, anything, to regain control. Even the camera crew hesitated. Should they zoom in on Whoopi's stunned expression, capturing the moment she realized she had trapped herself? Or should they cut to commercial and hope no one noticed? Whoopi, usually so quick with a snide remark or a dismissive wave of the hand, sat stiffly in her chair, wishing she could disappear into it. She had walked straight into a trap, and there was no easy way out. And here's the real question Karoline exposed. If wokeness is truly about diversity and inclusion, then why are conservative women the ones being attacked? Why do those who preach tolerance turn vicious when confronted with someone who doesn't fall in line? In that moment, Whoopi Goldberg realized she had no comeback. No sharp retort. No witty remark to steer the conversation back in her favor. The silence dragged on. Desperate to recover, Joy Behar jumped in, forcing out a nervous joke in a last-ditch effort to break the tension. But the damage had already been done. Whoopi had done something even she had never done before. She had completely unraveled on live television. And if you don't have anything to say, you blab, you ramble, you go on and on and on. That's exactly what Whoopi did. And it was hard to watch. Her arguments felt childish, dismissive, hollow, especially when faced with facts she couldn't brush aside with a smug laugh. It makes you wonder, how does someone who so clearly lacks substance still hold onto a platform? Maybe it's because she's been ingrained in daytime TV for so long, but at this point, you'd think she would have been replaced by someone who could actually bring real discussion to the table. But Whoopi kept talking, and everyone saw through it. And then, the internet exploded. Memes, reaction clips, endless commentary. Within minutes, Whoopi's stunned silence was trending across social media. But here's where it gets even crazier. This wasn't the first time Whoopi had gotten herself into hot water by running her mouth. Over the years, she had turned The View into a lawsuit factory, dragging ABC from one controversy to the next. From tone-deaf comments about the Holocaust to bizarre defenses of questionable figures, Whoopi had been at the center of some of the show's biggest scandals. But nothing hit ABC harder than the wave of defamation lawsuits. Carrie Underwood. Hen, Musk, and now Karoline Leavitt. One lawsuit after another, each one making it harder for ABC to ignore the costs of Whoopi's unchecked rhetoric. And the worst part? This time, Whoopi couldn't blame anyone else. She had no one to throw under the bus. ABC tried to spin it as a break for Whoopi, but everyone saw through the PR stunt. The reality? She was gone, and now, The View faces a major crossroads. They bring in another Whoopi-type figure to keep pushing the same tired narrative? Or will they finally take a different direction? Is this the beginning of the end for The View? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.